that's how I dumped everything. For your own concept note, just like I suggested, just put your GUI and go. Your previous research grants, the amount managed in the last 5 years. You can tell yourself, the funding you've had funding, bring them in and tell them, you know that they are not going to prefer with their money, that you already have delivered for others. Show them how you're going to do it. As team members, they're expected to have office and laboratory space to be provided by the host. Unfortunately, okay, I'll talk to most of us in engineering. I'm sure by then, so you guys have your private labs. You have labs within the department. But in most departments, you don't have that. And you can't be a professor and you don't have a space to work. University must gradually, when they're building structures, take care of the needs of the professor. Professor needs the lab is where the student works. This is very, very, very important. Here you have to ask, what is the laboratory space you have? I mean, we have a small corridor in the department, one corridor. The Directorate has one small corridor where we have our equipment, so we need to have this. The equipment and materials to be provided by the host institution. We have a lot. Go to the central lab. Come to my place if you want something. I'll give you a list of some of the equipment you have, because we want to show that you're not coming from zero. You have something to support the work they want to do. So, having in the chemical engineering, chemistry, biology department, then again, we are saying some of the analysis we want to do, we can send them to universities close to us where those equipments are available. Technical support. Again, we expect technical support from the postgraduate students, academic staff, technical staff. Coco. Let me show you what we presented, but this was not the final thing. This was not the final thing. I don't brought this document. The way we sent it, the way we went to defend it, the way we went to defend it, and at that point of defense, as I said earlier on, we had I had 3 professors of agriculture that were, they were the panelists. One was from IER, senior professor there, IER. We had one that was a DPT, vice chancellor from Ebonyi State University. So they were people, but they're not, like they said earlier, they're not experts in that's my own area. But that means you must communicate to them in a way they understand. It's your job. You can't, that 16-member NRF team, you can't have all areas of expertise. Even that chemical engineering alone, that's why we love for chemical engineering if I put it into the area of expertise. Why not? So that's the reality. You must make sure you prepare your documentation for people to understand very clearly. This stuff, the equipment you want to buy a jaw crusher, ball mill, throat flotation, the pilot plant you want to do the reactor, a neutralizer, the estimated cost of what we wanted to do. We estimated the cost. Importantly again, when you estimate the cost, if you have invoice even at the stage of proposal presentation, if you have invoice for some of these estimates you are making the invoices, at the point of presentation you can argue with them on the funding level. We estimated all these things. But the reality is that even this estimate you can see is estimate as of 2022. If you ask me to prepare this same budget now, you will times it by 3 or 4. Same budget, 0.3 on. Supplies and consumables, the materials, we're going to go to all great data, you can find a lot of chemicals. That's all those estimates. You can see this, each line item you see here. I have a separate Excel document that breaks it down. If you see raw material now, I have an Excel document that breaks it down into pieces for you. If you say chemicals, this chemical is not just chemicals. I have another Excel document that specifies each chemical, each type of chemical. Why am I using this for? Why am I using this? So this is just a summary. I have an Excel page that breaks down each of them. If I say I need glassware, I have a document that shows a breakdown of each type of glassware I think I need for this project. Data acquisition, analysis. Similarly, again, we have a spreadsheet that shows that, look, we have to go to the field. We made commitment that we are going to go to sites in Gwagwalada and Chiroro. How many people are going to go to the field? How many days are they going to spend? We have the breakdown. Have the breakdown of everything you are seeing here. The analysis, what type of analysis you are going to do? We're going to do XRF, we're running SEM, we're going to have analysis, we show it. So these figures are not just there as 7 million. No. They will not answer you if you do this kind of Again, travels and accommodation. You have local conferences, international conferences. Again, these conferences, we estimated 5 million for the team members, 4 or 5. So which international conferences will 5 million be okay for one person now? I mean, 5 million cannot even be okay. If you want to estimate for international conference for the 5 team members, typically for now it's about at least 8 million for one person. At least 8 million. So 8 times 5. You can see this is a different ball game. Local conferences, 3.5 billion. Honestly speaking, that's not enough. These conferences include not just for the team members, your students too, your postgraduate students. That money is not enough. That's the reality we're in now. Personnel, you've seen miscellaneous. Destination, we're going to have workshops. Personnel, we have 5 investigators. We have 5 million. You put an amount, we're a bit humble there. And in the whole proposal we had, for that personnel that they actually increased the number for us. They increased the number. The final approved budget, they actually increased, they say 5 million was all for the personnel. We have the technical support, the PhD students. I have a PhD student currently, PhD analysis student. We give them monthly stipends for them to work on the project. So we captured all of them in the project. We have the miscellaneous, about 10% of the project. Institutional charge, we have to transfer at the end of the day, whatever is approved, 10% will go to our 5%. I made a mistake here. I wrote 10%. I've been corrected. It's 5%. 5% will go to the university. And that's part of the cost of what we're doing here now. So we want more of the money here so that we can have more of this kind of workshop. So finally, additional source of funding. Provide full details of other funds. For me here, I don't have any additional funding. So that you don't ask me, is that money not enough for you? I didn't write it. Of course, you have the references. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Please, can we once again put our hands together for Prof? The Director, do we entertain questions or we proceed to the next presentation? Questions? You are okay. Okay. The presenters, please, you can come up and sit. Please, if you have any question for Professor Tony Okwe, for Professor Awal, and Professor Abdulaziz Yusufata, You can please indicate by raising up your hand. Questions?
Good afternoon, sirs. My name is Suleiman Punko, PG student from Urban and Regional Planning. I'm so sorry to ask my question being elementary when I am a beginner in research work. My question is on research problem. Is it when trying to achieve a specification and research problem, is it necessary to always start from broad perspective and then narrow it down to specific, or you can start directly from specific perspective? That is my question. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. Thank you very much to our professors. My name is Ali Ashifa from the Department of Microbiology. Actually, my question is about the composition of the team. Prof said we should, mentees should be included, but while Professor Awol was presenting, I saw a place where he said eligibility is senior lecturer. So does it mean that lecturer one down cannot be part of the team, or is there any ratio for that? Thank you very much.
My name is Ahmadu, Department of Botany. Say, rather to the question that was asked. If I'm going to add students, like PG students, must they be doing their work related to what our title is going to be? And then secondly, the principal researcher, must that person be a senior lecturer, professor, or down? Thank you. But honestly, I'm grateful that I attended this workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Yusuf Abdullahi from the Department of History. My question is the composition of team members. An IB, for example, part of 2 teams in system, yeah. My first one. Second question is, there any limitation to the, for example, minimum and the number required for a team?
Thank you very much. My name is Bruce Julius from the Department of Crop Protection. My own question also in line with the composition of such team members. You made mention that important to include other people that are working in the same field, other institutions within the country. I don't know if partners from other countries, possible for you to include them. Probably, maybe you have some professors that you are doing other line of research with them, and they have the standard laboratories and stuff like that. We want to include them as international partners. I don't know if that's allowed.
Let me give a small expo. But if you quote me, I will deny. For the 2024 grants, because of the comment that the Deputy Director made, 6,944 concessions were received. 6,000. And out of the 6,000, 1,240 made it to full proposal. Out of the 1,240 and made it 906 were the ones who submitted. It's important to give this information because out of 1,240 that made it, only 906 submitted proposal. It means 334 persons did not submit. And I know people in this university who are among 906 were invited, who they are among the 334 could not submit. Recall I was talking about deadlines, internet functions, and all that. But those things are responsible. And again, out of the 269 that were invited for the interview, some people did not come. Missed their flights, didn't get sponsorship from the university to come. Came by night bus, the bus broke down by the way. Again, these are the problems that we discovered. So in all, that is how we arrived at the 158 sponsors now. APU is only 13 of 458. Or even less than 10%. 13 out of 158. I just thought I should give this information so that I can keep it at the back of our minds. Research problems are for the purpose of this grant. Please restrict yourself to what they want you to do. For other things, do what you like. This one, owners of the money have said, this is what we want. Such problem. And I can quickly tell you that we have the acts associated with such problem. If you quote me, I will deny you. But I can tell you, on my slides, you notice that there are 3 points under the research problem. Statement, the problem description, and the overall scope of the problem. 10 marks. So if you don't state it the way the owners of the money want, they have divided it into 2 portions. Clarity of problem and scope of problem. So you can guess. I think it's 10 marks. This is 5 each. So if you don't write one way, you have lost 5/100 outright. Does this answer? Team composition. Like I said, let us read what the owners of the money have posted. PIs must be minimum of 6 lectures. Very clear, no ambiguity. No ambiguity. Team composition. Very important. The question is simple. If you watch the slides that I presented, under team composition, I mentioned 3 broad areas. Good blend of quality and experience, seniority, relevant socialization, as well as availability of gender. So for each of these under team, scores are divided into 3: composition, interdisciplinary, and gender. So it's up to you. You put all men as gender, you lose mark. Put all women as gender, lose mark. So if they say put men and women, what's the problem? Put them. Score full mark. Then the other question is about researchers from abroad. This issue came up during some conversations on eligibility. and it was generally discouraged that Nigerians who live abroad, diaspora, they have access to other forms of grant that don't address the issues that Tetfund is thinking about. Non-Nigerians who have expertise and facilities abroad, they also have their grants tailored directly to us. And the fear here is copyright. But when you generate very good ideas here, you are partnering with somebody who is non-Nigerian, but you don't know what he's doing with your data. Don't know what the person is doing with your data. So generally, like I've mentioned, there are several laboratories here now. Why don't we dig in and use what is available? But for other purposes, cost linkages and exchange is very important. And we have noticed that some NRF grantees who were involved in other researches have used the opportunity of access to laboratories abroad, other collaboration to even do part of the work. It's a plus. So sometimes it's never here. But since they say Nigerian, idea is to try as much as possible to restrict ourselves. I just want to make a small point of disagreement with Professor. I'm not sure Professor meant, I think he was joking. He made 3 points about reviewers. He talked about politics. We are 60. Actually, we are 59. Across various disciplines. So I don't see where the politics is. Maybe he will tell me after. But for the purpose of this gathering, so far, I've not seen the politics. You don't need to know anybody. The show is online. Put your expertise online and pray that you are able to communicate those who are going to assess you efficiently. The second point I want to make is that you professors of agriculture assessing work. And my initial reaction, how did you know the assessors? But when he said, during the interview, I agree. Now, what Tetfund tries to do, software that was designed and in place, it harvests expertise of its members. It is on the basis of this expertise that people are categorized. After categorization, when concept notes are sent, again, it harvests concept notes, goes back end to look at the expertise that have been deposited as data and assigns. So it's not likely that all the time concept notes will go to non-specialists, because actually there are 2 assessors. Every concept note, there are 2 assessors. And those 2 assessors most likely in related fields. And what we have agreed among ourselves, if for any reason concept note is sent to you and you think you don't have the depth of expertise, you report to the leadership warriors, somebody who is closest. Because we have found several situations where, like the research that has been conducted in nursing, it appears like a social science research. We have seen things like that, and we feel it has come to cross-cutting. But we think the person is that will get justice if he goes to HSS. So we send them to HSS at the expertise side. But I think we need to understand that at the stage of concept note, experts assess. At the stage of full proposal, experts are the ones assessing. But when you come to defend the budget, it's a different story. I don't need to be an expert to know that you have budgeted to buy an equipment that will do your work. Those who have assessed the concept and the full proposal, they are the experts. They have accepted that equipment is relevant. So at the point of full proposal defense, it's to justify. Like they have said, there are people who are specialists in budgeting. They are not subject specialists. Subject subject specializations at concept note and at proposal. For example, the examples that I gave before. One under travels, put 350,000 naira. And it's a team of 9. You don't need to be an expert to know that how can 9 people travel on 350,000? Even the PI, 350,000 will not be enough for travel. If he is proposing that he's going to do some social science survey work in 2 geopolitical zones in Nigeria and choosing 3 states in each zone, how can 300,000 travel? Again, you can see you don't need to be a specialist to determine that it's not correct. If the man says, I want to buy Apple Mac for 600,000, you don't need to be an expert in biochemistry. You know that it's not correct. Whether he doesn't know what Apple is, he wants to buy it for any use. So I just thought I should disabuse it so it doesn't appear as if those who are assessing a complete ignorant of the subject. Not tough people. For example, I always use a logo as example. When I went to ATVU recently for the monitoring of a grant, we were talking about solar. I don't need to be an expert. I have solar energy in my house. When the people say we bought battery for this, we bought inverter for this, I bought inverters, I bought and a lot of us, I'm sure I bought. So you don't need to be an expert to know the cost of the solar panel, for example. And when they were talking about non-availability of barcoding for DNA of plants, I'm an artist, but I Googled and I saw that they have barcoding laboratories in Nigeria. You don't need to be an expert in biochemistry to know that area. So I just thought I should make this clarity. At the defense level, it's just to justify. It is at defense level, for example, we disqualified an entry because the deputy provost, I call it a city member. At that defense, you don't need to be a subject specialist. And they clearly put the person's name, office, and the university. It helped us. Now, just the last comment as an example. Another university, the person is a PI on a grant that has not closed out. And the person is a member in one team and a PI in another team. But he did not disclose that he has benefited from 2023, 2022 that was waiting for monitoring. Okay, during the interaction, I slipped. So I just thought I should certification. The other one, Prof, says they have not given him money. That one is between you and Platform, Prof. Thank you very much.
Let me just, I think one of this is what I said. I think for the sake of clarity, the senior lecturer and above is just PI. Whereas any other category can apply for as much as possible. I think last year I gave one question. I think I received so many comments thereafter. I think if I remember right, 2019 or so, I think I was involved in 3 projects, 0. In 2020, I was involved in I hope I'm right, about 7 projects or 5 projects, 2 got through. Then in 2021, I got involved in 8 projects, 1 went through, 2022, 6-0. And so you see, by this picture, what I'm just trying to convey is the fact that please apply as much as possible. For instance, every single department, now I'm talking from the Directorate perspective, we encourage every single SL in every single department in ABU should apply. I think that when you create your teams, a team can be created whatever direction that you think as appropriate. But I think one thing we are looking forward to is to at least have nothing less than 500 concepts not going out of ABU. Because I think we have more than 500 senior lecturers and above. That's what we are targeting. So every senior lecturer is entitled, form a team, make swap, keep swiping, one will pass through and eventually you move. So that is one thing I want to clarify. Everybody, you are entitled to be in one, but multiple in as I think it's admissible. It's as much as possible. Thank you.
So please, ladies and gentlemen, for those who have questions, you can please reserve them, jot them down, reserve them now. We'll take the next two presentations. After the next two presentations, then you can ask your question.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. First presenter clarified about eligibility of Nigerians based overseas. You also clarified about non-Nigerians based out of Nigeria. I am a staff of the university and I'm a non-Nigerian with rank that qualifies as a PI. Am I eligible?
You already have your letter last week. That's what you are saying. Non-Nigerian, working in Nigeria, working in ABU, whether she's qualified. ABU is your umbrella, madam. But here, by ABU, yes, because we are working here, we're going to be doing the research here. I'm sorry.
Okay, so please, if you have any other question, jot it down. After the next two presentations, then you can ask your question. And ladies and gentlemen, the next presentation is navigating the oral defense and interview session by the Directorate of Research and Innovation, Professor G.G. Maina. And Prof. Ma, time allotted for the presentation is 30 minutes. When it is exactly 30 minutes, yes, ma'am.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I can see the house is full. So while we are navigating the slides, I'll just want to make a few more clarifications. I was asked what the difference in submission avenues were for IPR and NRF. I think it's a good thing to clear now. IPR is institution-based research, so you submit to the Vice Chancellor and he processes within the university. NRF is actually processed by TechFund itself. You submit online, the portal, two different avenues to submit. We talked about the eligibility, so I'm not going to go through it, but if you have any other questions during the question and answer time, after this presentation and the next one, please flag it up and answer them.
All right. I've been given an easier task. My predecessors here have talked a lot about what I'm going to do. So my presentation is on navigating oral interview, and I'll be talking about three things. The first is I will give you what we went through, a personal experience. I will only give you what we have. Those that have a former NRF, I will chip in their own experiences during the question and answer time. But specifically, I will be focusing on what the NRF SNMC National Research Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee, of which OPE is member. And then lastly, I will talk about the concluding marks. All right. So if we're talking about oral interview, it means that you have scaled through the concept note, your concept note has passed, it's in the full proposal, it has also passed. Congratulations. However, the game is not yet over. You still have to defend the proposal as is. So what I'll do next is to give you a sample of what we presented, exactly as we presented the preliminaries, and I'll discuss questions and what the committee, the screening committee asked. So this is not new. Professor Ibrahim actually mentioned this at the beginning of his own presentation. This is the presentation we made as and we were developing a prototype design for student housing that limits malaria transmission in West Nigeria. I've taken time to bring out lists, qualifications, and not the qualifications actually, and the departments, and the specialization of every team member, because it's very important. If you list this out, it saves you a lot of questioning during the oral. So as you can see from that list, there are 3 of us that are architects, and the other 5 are biochemists. Simply because the research was straddled between two different specialties. We were asked a question about that during the interview, by the way, but this helped to clarify a lot. And you can also see the team composition. There were 3 of us females and 5 males. So that kind of works. And it also helps if the PI is female. There's always the gender bias. The truth, I should mention it, but I think it's worth it. So I'll give you a background of what we presented. Our research is about malaria. And we presented that malaria remains a global challenge. Nigeria is number 1, unfortunately. As of 2022, recorded 610,000 deaths. As I said, Nigeria has the highest burden, and malaria is predominant in the northern regions. And I think one of the things our research will bring out is that poverty doesn't help us for malaria. Anti-malarial treatment has been through chemotherapy and vector control using insecticides, ITMs, insecticide-treated nets, and environmental sanitation. But they've been plagued with a lot of resistance, as we all know. You don't have to be biochemists or pharmacists, but we are all Nigerians who have suffered and are still going through malaria. These days, you have to treat malaria 3 times, at least, where it goes. So it's an issue. It doesn't even go. Somebody is mentioning that it doesn't even go. Right. Now, that was a background with the general. This is what anybody online would have picked, correct? So our own problem statement was that the strategies for controlling malaria have largely been medication or chemotherapy. But see, in the first place, if you're able to mitigate mosquitoes eating their hosts, you have solved that problem. Unfortunately, it hasn't been. It's one area in the malaria control campaign that hasn't been pursued. Then we come down to the specific, which is the A, and which is the second point. To the best of our knowledge, no malaria mitigating prototype house design targeting vulnerable populations exists in Nigeria. You have to be that specific. So the first point under the problem statement is a more specific generic statement. The second one, that's the gap. And then second bullet point is the specific thing we want to be aimed to. And therefore our aim is to develop a prototype housing that mitigates malaria transmission in student hostels. Why student hostels? Never seen that even worldwide. And sometimes malaria vector control is targeted at the low income, not student population. Of course, there are advantages to student housing, which time permits, I'll tell you. So this was basically what we presented as preliminary. Now, unfortunately, unlike the concept note and the full proposal, which gives you a template, so you're submitting online, so there are things you have to fill for every category. Oral defense doesn't come with a template. As to the best of my knowledge that we know, they just sent a letter to say that you should present
come to the defense with one other team member. So this was what we presented. It went well. So it's a suggestion going forward. As I said, the background to the problem of ours, the problem statement and the aim. Then you need to state the impact of the grant, the long term and the short term. On one slide, we did that on one slide. I've not shown it just for brevity. Then methodology. I'm happy that has been Professor Atta, but a pragmatic practical advice is write down the methodology, specific tasks as per the objective. Once you do that, just flow. In fact, we use just one slide. Show that. And the timeline, of course, now that some of the awards for 2024 just came in, I think the VC just got it yesterday. So the timeline has adjusted, but you have to tell the team that this is the task you want to do. So and so months and so and so time. Our suggestion again is to use a Gantt chart. Okay? Then, if you notice, there are two items there that are in red. Project, am I correct? That is what oral defense would do. So, again, our pragmatic advice would be that provide a summary of the titles of the items based on full proposal templates. And you break down everything the way Professor Atta showed in his presentation. Again, it will help show people the sustainability plan. Okay, what you plan to do. After this grant wraps up, how do you intend to continue? You're telling people now that my work doesn't stop with your money. Once they see that, it shows that you're proactively thinking ahead and that project is viable. All right, having said that, we'll now go to the main gaps of the presentation. Please bear in mind the background that because come up here. What does the NRF S&MC interrogate? And in the bracket, I've put among other things, maybe other things, but these are the principal ones. First is about the principal investor, or PI, the leadership skills and your capacity to manage the grant if it's awarded. The second is your team composition. It was mentioned, it's now it's mentioned again during the full proposal, and it is coming up again. Very, very important. Then again, the fit of the methodology to the budget. That's why we give this advice that you should tie down the methodology specific tasks. What you now do with the budget is tie down specific those tasks to money. Simply goes that way. Then of course the budget details. Again in red. They're flagging budget in red because at the oral defense, that's practically what we do. Okay, so let's take the first point. Principal investigators, leadership and capacity to manage them. Now, why has the PIE for you to know every single line or every single aspect of it? Because you're just a specialist in one area and your grant should span across quite a number of specialties. It is important that you take ownership of that because it is going to show. When it comes to the oral defense, if you are not in charge of the grant, it's going to show. And I think this is a good point to mention. We're discussing this with Professor Ibrahim at the defense. There are times when one person that writes the grant, then we get a senior colleague as the PI. I know that's a common thing here. We know that happens. Then it is onus of the PI to actually own grants because it is going to show. They will kill you and they will realize, okay, somebody else will do that proposal and not you. And the moment they that gap, you can easily throw away the entire proposal. You've come all this way, but you do it at the last minute, and it's really quite painful. Okay? So you, as a PI, you must know how each part of the methodology, the background, project fits into what. You have to be in charge of it. Your qualifications and your specializations matter a lot. Professor Atta mentioned you put your best foot forward. I did this. Tell them. You should also carry out from the concept note, the full proposal, and the oral defense. So another thing that they check is confidence. If you are not confident of what you're saying, the first thing that it happens is that you're not the one who wrote the proposal, or you are not part of writing, or you do not conceptualize the idea. The moment the team realizes you do any of it, they may just be polite.
when the whole list comes out, you find out that the grant. So you should be confident, you should be calm. And personally, I think the secret to being confident is simply knowing the stuff. Know it back and forth. There's a limit to fidgeting. You may start out fidgeting because, trust me, you go into a room, they just throw you from the team, from your own end, and you're facing like 6 or 7 other people who are professors. Either like our own team, we had quite a number of biochemists. There was a medical doctor. There was somebody from construction. So when you go in first, you could be a bit tense and but once you go into a subject area, the calm should show. If you wrote that proposal, confidence will naturally come up. Okay? So our tip here is that you should own the proposal. You should invest in it. Stand what was written, what each part is, or else, as I said, if you don't own it, it's longer. Then know the proposal inside out. Practice if possible with your team. And when you're going, pick somebody that, even if as a peer you are incapable of being there, a lot of things happen. We're adults. Wake up the morning of the you're not well, your wife or child is ill, your car breaks down. There are always other eventualities. Somebody that in your shoes will defend the project first. That's the general idea. And you should be careful because when you're going there, you have to defend, as Professor Howard said, that he has become, what did you call it? Serial beggar, yes. Serial writer, serial beggar. So, when you're presenting a grant, you're pitching. It's like a business pitch. You want somebody to give you money, fund your idea, to put your best foot forward. There's just no other way around. As Prof. Oakley said, 6,944 concept notes presented last grant cycle. Only 158 were eventually awarded. That's 2.75%. In essence, we can put it that the rejection rate is 97 points, almost 3%. This is almost like nature, huh? When they figure out best rejects. So the competition is really high. So you put, if it means practicing, practice. Okay? So that's about the first point. Second point, again, has been mentioned, but I think it's good to read this. That your team composition and competency. One of the first questions after I had made our own proposal, by the way, Professor Ibrahim and I went for our own defense. The next thing they asked was that, they asked, why don't we have entomologists? And I was happy to quickly just go back this slide, and I pointed out, because the person asking was the professor of biochemistry, I quickly pointed out we have 2 entomologists there. So that justifies that question. Otherwise, we would have had to go into a lot of it. And another person that was a medical doctor, I think was the VC of which university? I can't remember now. He was now saying that why didn't we have a medical doctor on the team? We went on to tell him that we're not talking about prevalence or the malaria itself. We're talking about the vector control. So we didn't particularly need medical doctors. And what I found very interesting was that members of the team now took up the argument on our behalf, simply because we had pointed out the actual entomology. So that tells you the importance of having the right team composition. It helps a lot. If we had gone ahead with this project without biochemistry, I assure you probably wouldn't have gone up to this. So, while we're very good in academia, paper writing, one of my professors, my teachers, says that we usually have passengers in authorship. You cannot have passengers in draftsmanship. No. You will have to defend why every single co-investigator is on that one. So when you think that you're adding your friend or your spouse, it's not going to work. And the moment they realize that you have redundant co-investigators or members of the team, what it does really is to tell them that you're not very sure of what you want to do and you're not in control of the project as it should be. Get flung out. The next thing again is to always consider the grant as teamwork. It's not about you as the PI. So when you're making a presentation, you don't say, my proposal, my proposal. It's not about you. It's our proposal. And the our goes beyond just the team composition itself. I'm happy Professor Ope mentioned something. When awards come, they're not addressed to you as the PI. For example, NRF, always addressed to the Vice Chancellor. Yes, a lot of people do not understand it, but I think it's worth mentioning here. Grants are vested in the university. It's not you as the PI. You simply are the person that will help the university walk through and attain the grant. So your name will be on the grant quite okay, but the letter is addressed for and to the Vice Chancellor. So it is always our, not my proposal. So the best practice is to tailor the team composition based on each task in the methodology. This is why we advocate that when you're presenting the methodology, present them as tasks and suited to the objective. Is every task or objective you have a list of mentors? You should have that. It may not be on the slides, but you need to have it at the back of your mind. Each task should have team members that would accomplish it. It help a lot. As I said, list each team member's name as I showed you. Then attend the interview with another person that, if you were not there, the person can present the proposal on your behalf or defend it on your behalf. All right, the third point is about fitting the methodology to the budget. So if you take the advice of breaking down the methodology into using the objective tasks assigned to each of the objectives, this shouldn't be a problem. Because it will now be easy to know that, for example, you're going to do a survey, where are you going to, who is going to go, and easily budget travel allowances, the equipment that you need, and all of that. But if you do not tie down each objective to each task, then it becomes a problem here. Basically, the team is going to start billing you from here. Methodology to the tasks. So a practical suggestion would be that you prepare the budget based on tasks. If it's possible, co-opt people who are in finance. For our own project, we actually had a quantity surveyor give us a bill of quantities for a proposed toaster. That's the only way we could have estimated the budget. If you need information, please go to experts. It's all about knowledge. You want something, chase it. But do not think that you have all the competencies, even within your team. There may be certain competencies and certain tasks in the budget that you can outsource. Outsource as much as possible. Or get financial help from the outside. Okay? Now, during the oral interviews, once a task is taken out, the budget for that also goes. And unless you know the proposal in and out, it's possible to get psychologically ruffled when that happens. And it could happen. So, again, know the proposal in and out. And finally, budget details. Professor Atta said this is the cocoa. And I would reiterate that this is the cocoa when it comes to oral defense. Sometimes the committee comes with a pre-determined figure in their heads. You submitted your budget, concept, proposal, which should be the same thing. But maybe you come in, they'll tell you, okay, we're giving you, to ask for 50 million, they will tell you, we're giving you 25 million from. Sometimes it is negotiated then. We could actually tell you to step up. That was what happened. Yeah, we negotiated. We could actually tell you to step out, let them have a thing, and come back. Okay, we're giving this. Are you okay with it? Happens. So the whole point to this budget issue is you have to understand that even in the objectives, when you're stating them, you should have an order of preference, and you should know where, for example, if the budget is cut, which part of which objective needs scope. You really have to know that, because that's where the budget comes in. Now, another thing that I should flag up, which happens from the concept note, please do not present rounded numbers. 45 million on the dot, 50 million on the dot. Incidentally, it was the chairman of our own oral interview that called me up and told me that that was what flagged him up for the budget. Because in reality, you hardly have rounded up first.
So while you're crafting your concept note now, because you're not going to change what you put in the concept note is what carries through in the full proposal. Please, not sure that was stressed. I should mention this. Once you put a figure in the concept note, that's the way you have to carry it through. You can't change it until the oral defense. So my advice again is careful, do not put in rounded numbers. At least learn from our own experience. Budget it, as you can see, I've put two different figures. When you have 50 million on the dot, because they've rounded a lot of figures. What have they rounded? Let us go through items and see. But once they see 45,896,231 naira 18 kobo, they go, most likely these people know what they do. It's not a guarantee, of course, but it's a better chance. And as I said, at the oral interview, you all learn and move forward. So this is one of the things that I've learned about. Okay? So to conclude, one, as the PI take ownership of the proposal, you know the basics of the proposal inside out. Right, they wake you up from sleep, you should be able to send that proposal. Even if you didn't write it out, of course you won't write everything, but you should collate everything yourself, and as much as possible, if you want to upload it. Then present the proposal calmly but confidently. So agitated, they get this impression that there's some foul play, you were not part of it, maybe you're a GVC or a VC, something. Yes, thank you very much for that. Sometimes they could shoot at you just to. For example, while we were making our own, there was a mosquito flying around in the room. So yes, the chairman said, Madam, you have been praying and fasting. What? I said, no, sir. It simply tells you that this is a very topical problem. We're dealing with it as we speak. So, what I'm trying to make is that on top of your game, that's it. Because out of the interview, asking you medically, your stuff and attend the interview with a competent team member who can take your place. If the grant is awarded, review the budget carefully. There are one or two things that they skip. You may even misspell something. I think I had on the slide a misspelling. Somebody didn't see anything to point out on the presentation. It was that spelling he pointed out. And I told him, oh, you're absolutely right, sir. My apologies. Typographical error. And we moved on. So sometimes things are thrown at you just to come. So review the budget carefully. If genuine errors are pointed out, accept it, learn the lesson and move on. Understand the place of every item on the budget. I cannot reiterate that more than enough. Each item will need to be justified, and then practice your negotiations. I think that's very important. For example, again, I will give you our own experience. We had microscopes. Yes. And one of the chairman now said, we have these microscopes in 7 areas, in 7 labs in APU. Kept pointing out all the labs. So what I did was, he said, in between him and Brian, all I did was, I just said, Brian, that's your talk. I can't answer this. So, answered it on our behalf and argued it out. You have to know as a where your boundaries are. You can't know. I'm not a biochemist. Even though my team is trying to gradually train me in biochemistry, and I'm trying to train them builds and architecture, right? Yeah, so that's the beauty of collaboration. Learn from each other. So on that note, thank you and best wishes for your concept note.
You were given 30 minutes, but you spent 24 minutes now. Thank you. And I hope Professor Balogun will do the same. And the next presentation is Patenting and Commercialization of Research Output, represented by Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Officer, Professor Emmanuel Oluwadare Balogun. You have the floor.
Thank you. teachers, senior colleagues, and colleagues. I am here to talk about the part that is a little bit, I think, more interesting. However, building block, the foundation has been laid by seniors about eligibility to training how to apply for the NRF, as for the grants. Every grant proposal, you have to apply their eligibility criteria, to closely look at that. Then somebody talked about how to craft a concept note, and how to write a proposal, how to defend it. So you can see the system is that we are able to get the funding. What happens? What happens is that we're going to conduct the research, that is the study, and eventually I think one of the key things, like Professor Tony mentioned, what NRF or Tech Fund is after is that there should be something tangible out of these studies or out of the research. And when we have such things, then what is important is about the intellectual property. That's what I'll be talking about this for the next couple of minutes. So I'm talking about patenting and commercialization of research outputs. We know what the keywords we know. Patenting is intellectual property. Commercialization talks about when you have made a discovery or you have produced something, how to bring money out of it. I was having a discussion with Postoni some time ago that I know of a close friend who produced something during his PhD. And for the past 8 years, every year, sells that stuff and make $10,000 every year. Here in Zaria. So please, we need to take job very seriously. There are opportunities for this. I'm just telling you this to motivate us that there are opportunities to make. The money is not in the research grant that you get. Everything in the research grant, as you have seen, highlighted, they have been budgeted either for agents or for travels and stuff like that. I think just a minute amount of that comes as personnel cost. So that's not really where you will obtain your reward. Your reward will come from the product of the research. If you are lucky, and I think if we design our stuff properly, we can be lucky. So this presentation will be looking at general outlook is that we're talking about production of concepts of intellectual property, specialization, and then the plan of presentation is about talking about rationale to protection, and then different kinds of IPRs, and eventually research and specialization. If we ask, using what I'm talking about, I am to ask us here that what is actually the responsibility of university or of academia generally. That is, I said, and you, what is our responsibility? Well, I think I'm sure we'll be able to answer that from pieces that we have had today. Many people will tell you that we are here to do, to teach and conduct research and community service. Okay? So that is actually second generation academia. Is what we call evolution of academia. So there are 3 revolutions in academia. The first revolution talks about training and teaching. This way during the medieval ages, where people just develop knowledge and then they encase themselves within the campus, just thinking and developing knowledge. And then after that came the second revolution, when we talk about, in addition to teaching and training, then there should be research. So that's in the 18th century. And then the third revolution talks about teaching, training, research, and then economic development. And this is very important. If we consider our country, we know that we need this right now. It is very important and central to the development of our country. Very briefly, a short while ago, Professor Awad Ibrahim did mention of triple helix, of invention or of research. But actually, there is something beyond that, and that's, I think, probably, I don't know, this is my neighbor in the department, so he probably knows what I'm going to talk about that. So there is quadruple helix. Quadruple helix, we're talking about academia, government, academia, industry, and the community. That means the people. You know, you are my clients right now, because you are listening to me. I'm doing my job, trying to earn my salary for this month. So the community have a role to play. If we make all the discoveries and there is no impact in the community, then that will not very good impact. So we are conducting research to make impact, and government has its role to play. Government set up, of course, government set up Ahmadu University Zaria, and is funding it almost, I think, monthly. Government is also providing us with research grants, that through IDR, that's UBR, which we get from IDR or the TED fund itself. And I think the university is also used to fund that. And then the university, in our employer, so Tony mentioned it just a while ago that if you apply to TED fund and write your home address, you're probably not going to get it. We get the research grant that we obtain because we are affiliated to the university. So the university gives us space to be able to think and then conduct our research. We cannot build laboratories in our homes. I think that is rather discouraged. So we have laboratories on campus that is supported by the university and the government. And then by the time we conduct research, we come up with some intellectual property, and then that intellectual property has the potential for commercialization. Actually, that's what it means. Intellectual property means something that has potential for commercialization. Maybe we'll see the different types of intellectual property. And then this intellectual property is what we will now be discussing with corporations or with companies. Companies may want to invest. Yesterday I gave a lecture somewhere and somebody was asking me that why are we not producing the university? And I asked, how will I conduct research and make findings and I'll be the one to produce? I think there will be conflict. So usually when you obtain something and you approach industries or companies that you think may be interested, or even investors, there are different kinds of investors, angel investors, or all sorts of venture capitalists that may be able to take up that. And that is when this can be converted, intellect can be converted into money. So we talk about intellectual property, many people think, what is intellectual property? If people know of different types of like movable property, such as cars and houses, then we also have immovable property, movable property such as cars, immovable property such as landed property, like houses and your piece of land. Those are immovable properties. Then you have movable properties. We also have intellectual properties, which is basically what comes out of your intellect, what comes out of your conception, and then that you're able to demonstrate that can be commercialized. This is very important. And something is very on to all of this. I teach an aspect of course in the department, and I teach I think graduate students about intellectual property. And then I show them this slide. They said, I asked if there's any difference between these three types of properties. And they said, yeah, the first two can be inherited, but intellectual property cannot be inherited. Actually, that is wrong, that was wrong. All these properties can be inherited, including intellectual property. Maybe we can have this discussion much later. So if we are defining intellectual property, what it is, basically, like I mentioned, which is something that comes out of the conception. And this may come into a tangible product, or it may just be an idea that has the potential for commercialization. Such an idea may be not be patented, but you may have trademark, mostly for people in arts or those of us who write books. So these may not be patented. So we'll see the different types and the nature of intellectual property shortly. The creation of human mind is an intangible property. It's unlike tangible properties such as movable and immovable properties. This is something that you cannot see. The only thing that represents what you have in your idea is the paper, the certificate that you obtain when you obtain a patent or when you obtain copyright certificate. So it may be time bound. Usually, I think based on Nigerian law, in Nigeria, it is the Ministry of Trade and Investment that issue patent or intellectual property certificates. In Nigeria, for patents, 20 years. I think for copyright, it's usually 15 years. So it is time bound. It also may be territorial, depending on how you point or where the intellectual property is registered. It can be, it may have geographical limitation. So that is why in most cases, we often advise that you should apply for patents not only within a country, or if you are selecting a country where you apply for patent, make sure that that country is synced onto WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization, or regionally, like ARIPO, that's African Regional Intellectual Property Office. So in design, if you design something, you can obtain intellectual property. Of course, this may come form of patent, or it may come in form of copyright, but eventually an invention will come. Invention means something new. That is why NRF, Captain NRF is trying to emphasize that the ideas should be novel. It shouldn't be just repetition. Okay, somebody did this in Jigawa, I want to repeat it, whether it works in Kaduna State. You will not be able to get anything meaningful out of such a study. So basically, you have to design it properly, targeting the end goal. End goal is to convert your knowledge into money, actually, because as intellectuals, as professors, or as lecturers here, we know our salaries usually don't take us home. But if we are lucky and if we are lucky and work hard and we're able to come up with an invention, that invention can make us instant multi-billionaires, no billionaires. This is possible. So we look forward to our vision. DRI and the university vision is that in just a matter of years, we want to see billionaire lecturers, billionaire professors making money from their inventions, partnering with their students, partnering with colleagues elsewhere to add value to the economy and then make them. The logic is very simple. You will solve a problem. Certainly that will become money. And it will become money if you are able to protect that. So it can be in form of intellectual property rights. This is the right that gives you a certificate that that finding or that discovery or that invention to you. Nobody can take it from you. So that's why it is important when you make a finding or make a discovery or something new, to protect it by law. It's a law that will protect your invention. Make sure that any other person that tries to replicate it, you make money out of such an individual or a company. So it can be copyright, it can be patents, it can be trademark, it can be design rights, okay, for those in design or engineering. It can be database rights. There are people in instance bioinformatics or statisticians. They can form some database that are very useful and they can make money. Of course, performance right for people in theater arts, this is what will be applicable to them. So what is an IP policy? IP policy is actually a document by an institution that spell out detailed step of how your intellectual property can be managed. So that is the reason why ADU have intellectual property intellectual transfer office that is under the DRI, and in that office we are starting with the responsibility of this kind of workshops, enlightening people in the possibilities that that is ahead of them or that they have, so that they can tap into that. And then we also guide people prepare their applications for submission to intellectual property right application. So there are applications. These are written like in the form of paper. We'll see the components in a short while. So basically, this is it has to be new. It has to be something well. It has to be something that is of commercial value. So please, I will not overemphasize this. Think about your research. What I found out during our M&E is that many people have their research has commercial value, but they are not seeing that commercial value. They are only seeing publications for the sake of promotion and stuff like that. This is very important. But again, I think the university has modified the policy to include intellectual property as a promotion point. So, because in most cases, it is usually better. Actually, you shouldn't publish the invention before you apply for intellectual property protection. If it's already in the public domain, then it cannot be protected. So please have this at the back of your mind when you make your discoveries after obtaining your NRF grants. Please do not hurry to publish. Always liaise with the DRI, liaise with us so that we can discuss. We cannot steal your idea. It's not possible. We already have non-disclosure in that directorate. We cannot do that. So it involves creativity at work, even this design, symbol design. If you look at here, this bottle of Coke, see here, I'm sure a number of you will realize that there are more than one intellectual property. It's more than actually two intellectual property rights on this bottle of Coke. Content is one, it's secret, nobody knows up to now how Coke is being prepared. Even if you know, you cannot, because it's already protected. They will make money out of you. Then you can see the shape of the bottle. This is also designed, okay, for people in technology, for people in chemistry, in want you can design something of different shape. Nobody can prepare, can use this kind of body or any other thing. Again, you can see trade name or trademark, Coca-Cola, the way it is specially written, you cannot copy this. So this is all very important to note that in one individual product, you have multiple intellectual property protecting. Just take the case of your camera or your phone, you have a lot of intellectual property protecting almost every company there. So why do you have to protect, and why do companies? So now I mentioned that before you publish it, try to protect it either by copyright or patent, and that way you keep it, you monopolize that invention. Why? It is not that so that you can produce it by yourself. No. If you have that certificate, then you can go and negotiate much easily. You stand on a good pedestal. You have a negotiation with the company that may be able to buy that right. So you can negotiate, right? Outright buy off. Just sell it to them and sell that intellectual property for maybe 1 billion naira, 2 billion, and then you go away. You can also negotiate with the company that the company will utilize the invention and produce and make a business out of that. So they will say, okay, for every profit, for the profit they make, you can have a percentage share, maybe 50-50 annually. So that way it is important to now discuss with the people in the intellectual property office, and of course in our committee. ABU structure is that we have the intellectual property and technology transfer office, which is under DRI, Directorate of Research and Innovation. But the intellectual property activities is coordinated by what we call IPPNC, like Intellectual Property Technology Transfer Management Committee. In that committee, we have lawyers, we have engineers, we have statisticians, we have scientists, we have business people in this admin, so that we can have a broad view and advise the colleagues more appropriately. So honestly, if you are able to find something, please always come to the office and have a discussion. Because the overall goal is that we want to make billionaires, multi-millionaires, or billionaires out of colleagues. Because in the process, contribution to the economy of the country, and then making ABU a much better place. So it's important, again, because we have intellectual property, we have policy documents that guide us. I think that the policy already has been approved by UBR, I don't know, by the Senate even. Okay. So in that document, it tells you how much you get, what is your percentage from the royalty you get from your intellectual property. I think we can discuss that in detail later on. There's a percentage for you, the inventor, there's a percentage for the university, there's a percentage for the department, that's the academic unit. You remember, Professor Mena just mentioned to you that the grant is actually not for you, even though when you obtain NRF, eventually the money comes to the university, and the university disburses to you, your private account, isn't it? So it means the university owns that grant, but you are the one implementing the study because it's your idea, right? So same is for intellectual property. The property actually property of the university. However, you have high stake in it. So the university's intellectual property policy is very robust. For ABU, I think it's one of the most generous policies that I have seen for intellectual property. And what does it tell you? What does intellectual property give you? It's the right to monopolize your idea so that nobody else steal it or even take it away from you or use it, utilize it. So, of course, again, it has to be of commercial value, the protection robust. So it has to be novel, like I mentioned. It should be useful, something not only useful. Of course, anything useful has commercial values, right? Isn't it? And then it cannot be an idea or a law of nature. It also cannot be a scientific principle. It has to be something that can be term of commercial value. There are different types of patents. You have utility patents, you have design patents, plant patents. For plant patents, for people in agri, particularly this is the discovery of plants or the development of plants that can produce asexually. This is very important. And then, of course, what we cannot do is that we cannot remember Alfred Nobel. Alfred Nobel is he has a foundation for Nobel Prize. So he was one who invented dynamite. And you know what dynamite is. But right now in the world, it is a global consensus. We cannot obtain intellectual property on atomic bomb or something that have ability to mass destruction. So this is very important. So how do you apply for patent? We will guide you. So there is usually a template. Whenever you come, and the number of colleagues here, I think within the past 2 months, I've had about more than 10 people that have requested for the patent templates, in which I have forwarded to them, and we're guiding them in that on the application, different applications. I must mention to you that I think kudos to the directorate, the director and deputy director. And last year we obtained ABU obtained about 10 to 12 patents. So we hope that this year we'll have even more. So please, let's work hard together and promote it. So basically it's like writing a paper, but it's much more explicit. Since that you have to document everything, showing pictorial presentation of how you go from one step to another. The abstract is there, background of the invention, the summary of the invention is there, and you have figures and sketches. This is very important, you must sketch. And also, as you document your research, you not just document in terms of graph or in terms of numbers. It's important to take photos, so that is what will convince people in the Ministry of Trade and Investment either that invention is worthy of patent or worthy of intellectual property, right or not. Then you have to disclose in detail everything, all the processes that towards the invention, and then how it can be used, and then for what it can be used for. All this has to be explicitly written, and then you can have now write your claim. Then this it defines legal boundaries within the writer. This is an example of a patent that was submitted sometime, I think, last year. You have the title, you have the inventors, you have the affiliation of the inventors, and details, including even the trademark. This can be obtained from the Ministry of Trade and Investment. So, I mentioned, and I will mention it again, is for things that have inventions, things that are novel, that you know that they have commercial potential. Do not rush to publish the core findings. You may be able to publish for the sake of promotion, peripheral, outcomes, such as some simple data that may not impeach, may not give people insight into the core of your invention. Those can be published before the main thing, but core of the find of the invention should not be published because so you can see the difference between scholarly publication and patent publication is very, very. They are similar but very different. Disclosure of ideas. For use in the future, it starts to be strengthened and well written. And after you have supplied that, then there will be evaluators, and then, we're talking about patenting process. Just like your paper, when you submit, there will be reviewers, it will be sent to 2 to 3 independent reviewers who will take a look at it. In most cases, these people are people in the subject area, expert in the subject area, and then people in irrelevant fields, like lawyers, like people in business administration, will take a look and see whether really that is worth even a certificate, awarding a certificate. Because it is a certificate that tells people or that tells the industry whether your invention can be interest of commercial value, whether it is profitable or not. So this is also again well laid out of how to write it, and most of the hurdles. There's a lot of hurdles in the writing. The writing of patent is much more strict. We have been having forth and back, some patent applications have forth and back more than 4 or 5 times, but that is just a normal thing. So if you scale through, then you'll be awarded, you'll be given a certificate. And you remember the Vice Chancellor mentioned earlier that we are having, last year we have about, I think total in ADU we now have 22 patents in ADU based on our records. So VC is telling us that we need to step that up. Stepping it up means we need to progress it to products. production. So, and that is a commercialization aspect of it. So basically, this is a process. If you do the science, or you do science doesn't really necessarily mean environmental science. It may be the science in arts or social sciences, maybe the arts that you do. Eventually, you accumulate some data, then make your findings, and that finding will be protected by law. And then it is only after this protection that any company or any industry or investor will find you worthy of passing with you, that maybe either to buy it off outrightly or to go into some form of partnership or joint capitalist model. And then you have licensing, and then eventually you have the product. You have the product, more important the product is, of course, the more money you need from it. However, honestly, sincerely, the advantage is, as long as it's a new invention, just patent it or obtain intellectual property for it. Even if at the moment you do not see its commercial, you do not see any high commercial value to it, or just to it. And the reason why I said it was that some years ago, I had an opportunity to meet with Ugo Sahin. Ugo Sahin, he is the scientific officer or the chairman of IonTech. Maybe many of you will know this company, IonTech. This is a company that first produced the first mRNA vaccine for COVID-19. We met in Berlin some years ago. That time, that was before COVID. They said they just, they're working on mRNA vaccine for cancers. So they have a pipeline. And that wasn't, I think, as at that time, as when we discussed, the total worth of the company was about 100 million euros. So, let's fast forward. Immediately after COVID, when they were able to demonstrate that mRNA vaccine can protect the value of the company, right now, I think, as we speak, immediately after COVID, went to 10.4 billion. So, you may not see the potential, the commercial potential immediately, but just protect it. Because there may be need for it in the future. Nobody is praying for anything bad, at least it may be, it's part of our responsibility to make the world a better place. Okay, this is the valorization process of inventions. I think this slide will be made available to you. But in rounding up, I need to tell you this is what we call the technology readiness level score. Okay, this technology readiness level score is what companies use to be able to quantify or to grade the level of involvement, their involvement or investment in your idea or in your invention. So you can see there are 9 different steps. At this level, this is the basic step where you are still doing some basic research in the laboratory or on the field, and then you have the concept, the technology concept, the application. This is when it is formulated. You can see analytical, experimental method up to prototype building. You see prototype building, that's level number 6. This is the level at which you can have been able to make something out of that invention. You have converted it just from the idea or from numbers into something tangible, something that you can touch, something that is useful. And you have been able to demonstrate that in small scale, this has the potential to do this. So any company that comes with thinking of large scale, that is scale up. So if I ask you here that if you are an investor, where would you like to commit your resources? To a product that is at TRL1 or to an invention that is at TRL6 or an invention that is TRL9? Well, of course, it should be 9 because at 9 it's almost, it's about to get into the market. So now, how is this relevant to what we are discussing, NRF? So remember, I think Professor Tony mentioned it, the director mentioned it, Professor Aurel mentioned it, about different grants from tech funds. Have IBR, have NRF. I think our opinion, IBR is for be able to generate proof of concept, able to generate some idea, able to test like pilots, able to generate pilots. So after generating the pilot, so the NRF wants to move you from the level of 1 and 2 to at least maybe around 5 or 6. So that is why this NRF funding is very important. Move you here. If you are here, then it is very easy to be able to talk to investors. Last year, funded by the ACNTDFB, we were invited to, actually, last year and this year, we were invited to Mauritius discuss with some, to have a discussion with some different investors. Because we have, at the center at ACNTD, we have some products, a prototype already. So based on that, if the center is able to have a discussion on behalf of the university with investors. I think we are asking the investors to invest around 2.2 million euro. So that discussion is still ongoing. Hopefully, if the center or the university is able to attract that, that will be a very important, good step towards progress towards product development university. And the second one was this year, the center also did a presentation in Ghana and Accra, where they showcase some of the inventions that the center has, ACNTD. So I think I will stop here and encourage all of us that we should take our research and activities very seriously, not for the purpose of just solving for publication purpose, for promotion, but we can make money out of internet. So if there are questions, I will be very happy to take the questions. Thank you very much.
You've added one. But that's right on time. Thank you very much. That's a bonus in itself. So I think we've exhausted all the presentations. Now time for questions and answers. Okay. Sorry, sir. I think this person here has been using his hand right from the first tranche of the first day.
Like that. Let's assume I have other sources of funding. Maybe I have a foreign grant. I'm working on a research using a specific material. But for the NRF, I'm now applying using another local material to solve our own indigenous problem. So in that case, I'm using French material to solve kind of similar problem. So if I have other sources of funding apart from the NRF, what is the implication? That's one. Number two, looking at the meeting NRF gives, so you have to publish. You have to make publication, very strong publication, to the ISI publication. And now I'm looking at the potential of my research that I can patent this work. How do I manage the situation? Because for me to patent, I don't need to publish. And third one requires me to publish as a requirement for my NRF. How do I manage this situation?
Okay, I have just two questions. Thank you for this opportunity. Madam Director, thank you very much for organizing this program. The first one is, if you already have a grant, small one, and the work you're doing appears to be, was giving you results to expand, will Pedfund agree for you to submit like a follow-up to make it bigger? Because like when you were speaking, you said it was good to show that after Pedfund there's something else. So would Pedfund also agree to fund that something else coming from another smaller angle? That's one. And the other one is, even though I know we have academic freedom, but I don't know if there's an undertone. Are spouses allowed to collaborate? Are siblings allowed to collaborate? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. G.L. Yuko from Educational Psychology and Counseling. I have a question to the last speaker. You made mention that for one to protect his work, intellectual property, he shouldn't publish it in public domain. And sometimes you realize that some publishers will get your information online and they will contact you, asking if you have, because, for example, I was contacted based on 3 different publications that are somehow similar. So a publisher contacted me asking if I can, forward the full work to them so that they can have the copyrights. So I don't know, what can someone do in such situation? Trying to protect, because the works have been published already. And it is through the publication they get your information and contact you. So what can someone do? And I have one observation with respect to the presentation of Professor Atta. Though their proposals scaled through, but I can see in the list of the team members, there was no female. Was it an exceptional case? Or maybe they had higher score in some components? Maybe that was the reason why such proposal scaled through. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amina Hassan Bayo from Department of Nursing Sciences. My question is on the issue of the PI and the confidence in the defense. It's only that SL are the ones that have PI. What if the person that has the concept, not an academic staff? In the confidentiality stage, if the person that has the concept is for the people, how is that going to be promoting the people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Yakubu Usman, PhD scholar in Met and Math Engineering. My questions are just 2. One a request, one a question. The first question, I'm currently a student, PhD student in ABU here, and also an academic staff in another institute, Zaria College of Aviation Technology. If I apply, for example, should I apply under ABU or my institute? That is the contemplating now. If the research work I'm doing it as part of my PhD work here in ABU. And then it's also related to the work I'm doing where I'm working. So how do I blend the two together? Then the next one is just a request, please. Your slides necessarily are quite possible and very appealing. I don't know if I may request for those of us that participate. We have access to those slides so that to guide us in the course of developing our own narrative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to appreciate all our presenters, our professors, and everyone here. My name is Margaret Ajayi. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Architecture. I have a question regarding patents. If someone makes an improvement on an existing furniture, for example, does it qualify for a patent?
Okay, thank you. Mine is an observation. It's 2 things. One, it has to do with this dichotomy of the science and the humanity. And I think it's a mind thing from you, the scientists, unless you fight it to continue to be there. Because when you do your meetings, even the presentations here, 100% science. Even the presenters, apart from Oga Tony is here because it's part of I even see him as an outsider than an insider. Yes, you didn't make him make his own presentation. So that's also part of the problem. You have to remove that from your mind and see us as partners. My department, there is no department that we cannot partner to do work with. There is no department. I know that one. The second observation is that I think also in order to help people to achieve the getting of the grant, I think like we do also with accreditation, we can do more presentation. Okay? We can do more presentation. You can ask people to make presentation and the panel can sit there, and then people can do the presentation. And then that one is also part of the training. While this one is there, this one is talk. But that one is physical active participation. So all the errors. I remember sometimes in our faculty there was that effort to help people who are getting these SEL awards. And a lot of them got it through that one. Thank you.
Many thanks to you. It was a very wonderful job. So I have 2 questions or concerns. One, I've heard over the years that most NRF winning grants, winning proposals or concept notes, the PIs are mostly professors. In a very rare case, senior lecturer or even associate professor will get that. I don't know if you can someone has access to this information and can enlighten us more on it. So most times, it's advised that just put the professor as the PI and whatever your rank is, you can be behind him, execute the project. So if this can be clarified if it's available. And the second concern is about the high DR for ADE. I hardly get to hear anything about it, and people know. Sometimes you just hear to have one. Was there a competition? Was there a submission, call for submission? So if there's any routine for this, it would be good to also know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am Adelonke Bashirat Mohammed, Vision of our Cultural Colleges, and also of our cultural economy. I want to really appreciate all the presenters for a well done. But my problem is that is to the secretariat. Maybe there's a problem with the speaker. Because things are saying it is not audible enough. Just for next presentation, maybe work on that. I believe that perhaps maybe I'm not close or something, but the presentation were apt because I was able to follow up. But now I have I'm a bit confused about 3 things. And that is in the composition of the team composition. The first speaker talked about the composition and said there was supposed to be a mix, gender mix, and he was even also telling us that sometimes you have names that are similar that can be for male and female, and then how do we understand? Maybe you add mixes, things like that. The second thing when I saw this whole slide, all the male. No gender mix. So, and again, the first speaker also mentioned that if there should be mixed institutions, different institutions and things like that. And the second speaker to everybody was from ABU, chemical engineering, except for one that was from maybe biology perhaps. And I just wanted to know one is which. Thank you.
Sorry, I want to ask a question. Where can we exactly attend our work? And we can apply the food industry too, because as somebody can develop a recipe and went to the extent of standardizing it or testing the nutritional content of the products, and it be patent too, and where can it be exactly patent?
Thank you very much. My name is Sophia Nam, Principal of Thank you. Actually, my question is to Professor Alwan Ibrahim. A while ago, when we were making presentation, you made mention regarding the literature review aspects, and we were encouraged that as much as we can, we should actually reference our own, maybe cite our own research. Now, what if maybe the person preparing the concept notes or the proposal is the first time? Thank you.
Appears as if this team membership is giving up the conversation. Concept note is called 100.
Mene? Yana da matsala kuma ban taɓa jin wanda ya yi.
If you notice, about 14 items. Other sub-items. Hypothetically, let us imagine that, like I said, the position, additionally, gender inclusion, that three items to the data. In explain those three components, my slide is went further to say, good blend of quality experience, seniority, relevant specialization, and as components of relevance of specialization of researchers to key methodologies who is going to work, availability of both gender researchers. So if hypothetically mass, a concept not that pass, if it loses 2 or 3 acts out of the 3 that is allocated, for example, they are all male, all female, does not disqualify concept note, but that concept note will lose marks in that area. If they are all in the same institution, does not disqualify. But the idea is to encourage multi-institutional and multi-disciplinary. That concept note again will lose mark that area. So upon 10, if it scores 5, and methodology that has 10 scores 10 over 10, for example. In other areas, the person's concept note has done very well. The person might score 80 over 100. So if NRF committee decides that the threshold is 70, that proposal is likely, that concept note is likely to make it. The fear that if one keeps losing 2 marks, 1 mark, 2 marks everywhere over 100, and the threshold is 70, with a score of 68.9, you're out. That's why the idea is to encourage people as much as possible score the full points allocated to each segment. Does that answer? Then the other question is on concept notes. You know, I'm restricting myself to concept notes because that's my presentation. I will not go into full proposal. I believe we should concentrate on getting past this first stage of concept. Because if we concentrate on full proposal and we don't do a concept note, we won't even get there. It is from concept note that you go to full proposal. You just understand it very well. Pass through that stage. Then we can encourage director has gotten 500 concept notes approved. Please, can you do a 1-day, 2 hours workshop of full proposal only? So that those who have scaled through from concept note will have 1 day, 2 hours of tutorship on how to go next. And maybe after that, when they are being called to say your proposal has gone to come for defense. In defense is certification and trouble director. Let her now organize another 1 day, 2 hours, prepare people on how to pass the interview or conversation stage, because she has a large pool of people already from APU have participated in it. Did you tell them you want it? It's part of the tattoo that the DPC was looking for, which don't know, because the names are not attached, but it's part of the tattoo. So clap for you, Director. Yeah, so I think that let's take one step at a time. I got the benefit of coming to my office. Please, if you want me to come to your office, talk to you about how to pass concept notes, look for me, my phone number is there, my email is there. If I benefited, that should also benefit. Oh.
Brothers and sisters.
The way the applications are designed does not allow for biology, does not request for biology. Just says researcher. If you are a researcher A, a researcher B in another institution or the same institution is the wife of researcher A, portal does not know. You can actually have 3 siblings from 3 different states bearing 3 different names. Happens in Nigeria. Now, I like to use example, the one that I'm sure. Also, Adele, Bekila. Her younger sister is Professor Religious, but her son name is not Bekila in City. If you see the 2 of them, there's another sister of hers in Nina, also a professor, a younger sister. The name is slightly different. So if you see the 3 of them, how are you going to tell that they are from the same parents? So if you write a concept note and people say, because they are eating not from Gregida village, they should not be given the grants. I think it doesn't follow. Now, the other issue, one from one grant to the other. This third fund asking people to indicate whether they have previous grants or experience, also for further funding, also to acknowledge and boost, because again, all that is member is a score for experience. So if he has gotten grant before, or members of the team have gotten grant before, part of that score, get part of that. I think it's important. Let's indicate. There's another area, like I said, I would have preferred to talk about concept, but since there are questions of the proposal, to ask additional funding for institutions. Very interesting. Most vice chancellors pledge, say, I will give. We have averaged about 5 million. Most schools, this is to say, we give 5 million. Indicate it in the proposal, so that it helps out of the score that the grant comes to the university. But from our monitoring and evaluation, we have asked several teams, where is that 5 million? We didn't see it. Rather, 5% of the grants from third fund institutions are using. So we suspect, and there are past and current vice chancellors amongst us in NRF. So sometimes when these questions come, we ask them, you see, they are not able to answer. So I think third fund is thinking about best practices. But in real time, sometimes it doesn't happen. But what can we actually to equate equipment or space of that amount? Real time, they are actually supporting at two.
Good afternoon. I will take the ones that I can answer. Before we go far, we decided about the training. It's very important that we handle the concept note first. Because if you do not, the concept note doesn't pass. Every other thing we've talked about is useless. So what we decided to do is from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will be at the Directorate of Research and Innovation from 2 to 4, every of those days. If you have a concept note and you think you want it accepted checked, verified, whatever questions you have. We'll be seated there. We'll be glad to get it for you, have a discussion with you. Then last year, what we did again was when the full concept notes, when the concept notes were accepted and full proposals were applied for, we held a mini meeting. Professor, you remember? We'll still do that this time. So there will be a kind of workshop to guide, again, more detail for the full concept, for the full proposal. Same thing with the oral interviews. We held a meeting with those who had been invited for the full interview. There was a prep-up meeting just to kind of train people towards the view. So Prof, that would be done, I will show you. Okay, I would take, somebody asked about sources of funding. I think you were asking, you were saying you had a fund somewhere, whether it was a lady, I can't remember, somebody asked about this. Technically, we've seen this in the M&E, if your project is granted, and usually by the time you go into the first year, the second year, you start having problems with the amount not being enough as projected for obvious reasons in Nigeria. What the last M&E taught us, if you can get another grant to even substitute part of what is being done, that one will clap for you. Am I correct, sir? It's actually a plus to you. So sources of funding, I think it was, yes, directly you asked that. So what you want to do is very much in order. Just be very clear where that grant, what that grant was supporting, and where the proposal from TED Fund wants to go to. Have I answered that question? Okay. The one for publications and patenting, Prof. I don't want to take that. If you have grant results to expand sustainability plan, Professor Bello, I think, asked about that. Yes, TED Fund has something that is called TED Fund. So if you do have a proposal that you think you can scale up to the next one, when they call for the TED Fund, that's a good place to put that in. Confidence during defense, I think it was from Ahmadu. If the idea is not from the PI, as I mentioned earlier, the PI, unfortunately, you see, when you're looking for money from a grantor, you do not stipulate the rules. It's what the person says you should go by, that you have to go by. If you go to TED Fund, the rules are very clear. If you're not an academic staff, senior lecturer, you cannot be the PI. I mean, we can't change those rules. It's not our rules. As Professor Zaria said, there are serial beggars go, and you're begging for funds. The person has said, you have to meet this so, and so. We can't change them here. So the idea is that PI has to be an academic staff that is part of the institution you are applying for. And as I said, that is sacrosanct. Can't shake that. Answer the question of somebody that said he is not staff. You're a student here, but your work is is elsewhere. If you are not staff from the institution, it's number one, ineligibility. So if you're not staff of ABU, you can't apply as PI from ABU, because part of the commitment the Vice Chancellor needs to sign is to attest that this one is his staff. Am I correct, sir? So if you're not staff here and you want to put in the proposal through ABU, it means the PI has to be a staff from Ahmadu Bello University. Again, they're TED Fund rules. They're not our rules to circumvent. Slides to attendees, yes. Those of you who have attended, that's why if you notice, we've asked you to put your emails very carefully. We will send the slides, all the slides to you. Dichotomy within the arts and the sciences. True, what we try to do for this kind of training, actually get people who have the grants, because that's experience. Unfortunately, it has been skewed towards the sciences. The first person we actually called up actually was from the arts, but they were not available to do. So going forward, it's not that we're not thinking about it, we have, but because of the limited number, the pool to select from actually smaller, and if they are not available, there might be little we can do. But the point is well noted. Going forward, consider that. Mock presentation next time, the practical. There's a hands-on workshop immediately after this session. And we found out from last year that the hands-on workshops actually work very practical, they work better. We divide the attendees into the 3 thematic areas. We ask you to come up with a proposal, and suggestions are made. As you were saying, our own proposal was it actually started out last year at this kind of session, so it will be a practical one. But going forward, we encourage departments and faculties to also call past awardees in their faculties, give experiences, because we found out that works out very well. If you have an experience, if you listen to somebody who has won, it's easier than somebody just giving you theoretical knowledge. So while we do our best centrally, we also advise departments and faculties. I know quite a number of departments that are going on about that.
You didn't get me.
Okay, what did you say, sir?
What I want to do is that when somebody is ready, he has a grant, before he is there, you can have a much presentation of the panel sitting around and let him go through the three.
Okay, that's what I said, that last year.
Not the workshop here.
Last year, we actually called those for the oral. But this year, we'll still extend it and expand it. That was what I said. Perhaps you didn't understand it. I agree with you, by the way. Do that. And now, I'll pass that on to Didi. I think he will be in a better position to answer. There's one here, rare case. We were talking about professors. That if you're not a professor, the tendency is that as a PI. Am I correct? Yes, mostly younger colleagues do not get. On the contrary, I think for this grant cycle, it was even a minus being a professor. I was on another grant that went for the interview, and our PI was challenged as to why he had up to 2 professors on the team. They will not do anything, they're just going to sit down and take seats. So the point I'm trying to make is that our younger colleagues are more encouraged to apply. Right now, it is easier for our colleagues, our younger colleagues to apply. And just as Professor Tony said, do you really have the statistics of NRF awardees being professors? I don't think so. It's a fair mix. To be honest, a lot of senior lecturers and readers have gotten grants far more than professors, perhaps. I think from the data that we have. So if the younger colleagues, please, we're advocating that you apply. It's actually easier for you to get it even than those from the professors.
Actually, there are 2 schools of thought. One NRF members. But one school that dovetails more towards senior lecturers, higher. We have seen situations where PI is senior lecturer, 2 other researchers are also senior lecturers, and there's a lecturer 1, lecturer 2 on the team. And during the defense, lecturer 1 and the PI went for the defense. And in our judgment, we were more combative than the professors. They were insisting, don't give me this money, I cannot do the work. Most professors, or talk like that, try to be nice. But we were excited that 2 senior lecturers are insisting that we have done this work, we have passed concept stage, we have passed full proposal. Why do you want to cut our budget at defense? We're asking not go, we ask them, you have questions for us. Say yes, why do you want to cut our budget? So we have to struggle to defend our position where we want to go to. So for the other school of thought, in the west of Nigeria, let me be specific. The argument is that senior lecturer, PI, professor, out of the team, who is leading who, should wait for his turn. You understand the reason? But our attitude is that it's possible to have a senior lecturer who have 1 or 2 professors on the team as mentors to make sure that the project succeeds. So again, arguments are there. But if you ask me, I'm a senior lecturer, I will not put a professor on my team. But I don't jeopardize my chance. I'll look for fellow Nigerians, fellow Africans. I'll put on my team. I'll find a brilliant lecturer 1, coach him very well, and even allow him to do it. I'm the organ waiting to see how he's doing. Because we have had situations like that. We went for monitoring somewhere. The person that was presenting, but for the fact that we had to do things or when there, we did ordinarily, you would think the person is the PI, he's a senior lecturer. He was talking so well, presenting very well, including the budget. When we asked questions about the project, he was involved in the procurement. But because we know that it's not the PI, PI is a professor, and she was sitting and feeling cool. And we were happy for her. At least this mentorship is working. So, we don't have the statistics that all the professors have. Senior lecturers have the grant, let's not go there. And lots of senior lecturers who have won the grant. All I have is an NRF member in your faculty. Why you not approaching him? Professor Tenimu Abubakar, your faculty is a member of NRF. Like you said, was not available to make a presentation. During last year's one of those presentations. We are 6 now. ABU is less. We have 6 NRF members in ABU. And I think that people should scout for us, ask us, get the best out of us at every stage. Huh? No problem.
Thank you, Prof. I think some questions were directed to you, but before that, let me also emphasize on this point, because I think that is actually I think the person that asked the question simply expressed what a lot of my fellow young academics, I think I would say that, just like what Prof said, in 2020, that's when I was opportunity actually, I was not in the country, I was in Japan. But the person that I sent to present at behalf was an L student, and I was also a senior lecturer there. So you can see, a senior lecturer sending lecturer 2 to defend. But that person I saw him before. He defended 2 proposals that day, and all the proposals passed through. So I think it is very important that it's not just about, I think, professor, I think SL actually gets it. In fact, specifically for the year 2020, that's what I can categorically say. Most of us, I think we can say about 70% of us were non-professors that year. And I think even this year, maybe 50-50. I've not done the analysis, but before the end of the day, I can give you the specific figure. But I trust it should not be around 50-50. So I think it's important to disabuse our minds from that notion. As much as possible, please, let's apply as much as possible. In fact, I told you I started applying since 2014. I was L1 since then. I started applying. So that is that. Now, with respect to the question directed at me, the issue of literature review that I said we should encourage our reference ourselves. Yes, that is very important. And if you are a first timer, as you said, that is why sometimes it's good to have a mentor, somebody to mentor. Then you reference the other person. You can see, for instance, if you notice carefully, even though I have others, but the example I showed was for
ethical rule against it. I know of a father and a son. Actually, all will know, remember, out of 100 and the conduct, they are both like tennis, father and son. The one was at 5. Same thing. You can imagine the number of brands we must have attracted to be able to do that. So it doesn't matter. Point is just getting the job done. As long as we both have the ideas, why not? We can do that. So I already mentioned about publication. I won't go into that, and already highlighted on the picture. But I will mention again about the graduate student who said a colleague or affiliated with another institution. His employer is a different institution, but he's doing PhD here. But can he be a member of the grant application team? Certainly, yes, he can. He can only not be a PR. You can be a member, and your affiliation can be your main affiliation. Actually, that way it even proves the diversity amount of affiliations on the application. I don't know if you get what I mean. So, because we did the same thing, probably you can remember Luca. So he was a PhD student here, but also a staff of
university outside of the Bombay, university elsewhere. So we use that affiliation actually. It was helpful. Then there is a question about PhD Aki, on the PhD Aki sister over there, who said whether if you improve architectural building or furniture, if you will be able to get patent. The answer is yes. So you can see these two devices. These two, they serve the same purpose. And I think there's another one, or this one, which not moving, but this one you can purchase. Different inventions. There is this one that you can hand. There are different inventions. Yeah, even wristwatch, there are different inventions. As long as you have been able to achieve this was common to all the presenters, that you must specify problem and show that your invention will add value, will make life better for people. And people will buy it. So that is why it doesn't matter, you can patent it. For instance, our director's project, which is about prototype for mosquito fusion. We develop that. There are buildings. You're just adding something new to solve a problem. So that can show properties because it has a commercial value. Then there is Prof mentioned that people in the sciences are generating intellectual property discussion. I think we not outrightly correct, sir. Because, of course, Prof mentioned, but we have, I mentioned IPTMC as the management committee. We have people, even in your department, in Unipod, right? The main guy in Unipod is from Theatre and Performing Arts. Entrepreneurship, exactly. So we have people in business administration, we have people in economics, we have people even in education, in social and law. So these are, everybody is important, not only the scientists. Actually, I don't think we are as important as people in the humanities and tech. That is the fact. So there is the question from the last person who asked about the food chemistry. Yes, sure. It's still the same thing. As long as you are adding value to whatever it is, even if it's global, but if you are doing it in a different way, maybe it has different organic properties, or you are able to improve the shelf life, to identify problems that are associated with such products, and then you try to solve that problem. That is an invention, it's an innovation, and you are adding value, and that can be serious money. So, okay, so yes, our director said, and the deputy director said you should bring the food, let's help you, let's sample it and know whether it's can be patented. I think we should start with that. Yeah, so basically I think we cannot overemphasize this issue about publication and intellectual property. So publication is important as academics. Even NRF also specified that for you to be able to assess the stone trenches, you must publish, right? Yeah, I think that was the rule sometime. Or before you close out, you should have published 2 papers. That's the idea. Even the IBM. So publication is important, but again, like Deputy Director mentioned, central core of the invention or what can be of passion value is to be protected. Anything referring can be published, that's fine, the purpose of promotion. As we also know, that is that I think the promotion guideline has included intellectual property as a guideline for promotion. We know also, I need to let you know this, the application process can be lengthy, especially in Nigeria, and sometimes it up to 1 or 2 years. It is better to start immediately have something that you are hopeful commercial value. So we have addressed all the problems, all the questions. Anyone that we want to address?
Oh, there is just one point that just discussed that we need to repeat. Please and please, if a project is a PhD or type of PhD project, as much as possible, do not say it out. Once they realize the project is just a degree or PhD directly, chances for them to drop it is very high. I think we just experienced something like that recently. As much as possible, it's a project, it's a project. Don't stop. You tie it that this is a project, this is part of so for PhD, chances is that it's going to be dropped because they said the NRF is not for awarding degree officially. That's the official stand. I think it's not for degree awards. Because the teacher, I remember one workshop that I think, they said because they have other streams of funding degrees. So this is not for anything that has to do with degree. So if a PhD is a high PhD, please be quiet about that as much as possible. Thank you.
That we overlooked, which was asked by someone over there who says, if the PI not have the idea that if the concept is not from the PI, what happens? So as long as you are a member of the team, fine. You don't have to be the PI to derive benefits from that. You can have an internal agreement, and of course, if you have a concept to write maybe you contribute substantially to writing the proposal, the chances are that you also have to contribute substantially in writing the papers, which you will benefit from. So it doesn't matter. Let's just continue to work and make the world a better place. Thank you.
That's because so Okwe started off by talking about home declaration. Doesn't this sound like declaration?
No, it's not because assumption that universities are tested to the accuracy of information that are provided by the identity. Anything other than that is classified as false, particularly if it's found out. Like I mentioned as the example, provost of a college of education is a member of the team. But when his name was written in the concept note, his office was not indicated. It's his name. Assessors have no way of knowing. So it was a good work as assessment stage. Citing the CVs of the members of the team. His name, Suara, was mentioned. His office was not mentioned. People have no way of knowing. But when it came to interview, why is the PR not here? It's acceptable. PR is not there. The head of the institution will have to have left. Why? In this case, PR is the head of the institution. And unfortunately, two assessors who assessed the full proposal were there at the interview. And one of them knows the provost. Provost was a student from my university. His name is there, so we asked the person who came to present. Is it coincidence of name? His name, Dr. Lagata, is the same person, provost of. Say yes, sir, yes, sir. Let the work easy, so much. It's a good work, very good presentation, thanks for coming. It's a work very easy. Part of the disqualification criteria is that also notes and proposals from heads of tertiary institutions and their papers. Access to it. The other example that I gave of a deputy vice if the office was not mentioned, was in the course of the interaction and the full proposal we wanted to show off. For example, that's why I give that example. It's possible to know a member of NRF, want to include that person, then conflict of interest. You cannot be applicant also lawyer. So we are not qualified. But some PIs, their excitement, they imagine put the name of an NRF member. This is Professor Shobanga. Do not go anywhere. So those are the issues.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, Prof. Maybe one will reconvene later by 2. But for now, I'm happy to inform you that lunch is ready. So we go for 25 minutes break, and we'll reconvene here by 2, please. Thank you.
And also, yes, science and engineering. So essentially, people in faculty of life science, physical science, agricultural science, all the College of Medicine. Which one? I think that's all. Yes, pharmaceutical sciences and vet medicine. All those are actually in STI. For cross-cutting, we have part of education and also environmental design, largely. Then humanities, the Faculty of Administration, Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Social Sciences, Management Sciences, yes, business school, right? I think that's all. That is what they call the, and of course law, and law. All that is actually the issue, and that's how they actually divide it. I think this is clear now. Yes, education is science education. Some can be in science, some will be. That is just it. Yeah, I think that's what I have for art. This is all art, right? Art. Why is my cross-cutting here? Is here? Because I thought you are in cross-cutting. Yeah, what of that group? Oh? Oh, it's all SCI here. SCI, we don't communicate much. I think it's now time we can just proceed. But the reason why I say we should go close is because that is we need to interact. You understand? So essentially what we have to do, as much as possible, if you are in the same group, because it's all about interaction now. So what we will do now is I can see that my group is scattering. What happens? That's why humanities is scattering. Huh? Maybe. There are more of education. Okay. This is you are the only person in arts, join them here. Social sciences, arts, join them here. Prof said this is how they are. Yes. We have two, one STI, STI A, STI B, cross-cutting, and analytics. Yes, yes, sir. That science is HSS and sometimes cross-cutting. Sometimes information science. Now, as the call is actually being projected, this is what that's the real workshop. Now, based on all that we discussed, now we are requested now discuss among ourselves and generate idea of what we are to submit. Let's say, for instance, a team like this, what will you need to discuss in the next 10 minutes to come up with an idea that we think can win an NRF. That is essentially what we do. Is something here? Yes, I think I want it. Yes, I think they are already going to have it. Yes. They are all STI. Also, there's something here, and you just discuss with them yourself and come up with a topic that is multi-trans or interdisciplinary, as the case may be, that you think is actually winnable. And also there's something here, and also there's something for cutting, discuss and come up with an idea. And I think I will say one of the The idea that was generated last year, somehow, part of it truly featured in the ones that were awarded this year. I don't know whether they got it here, but I know I can remember that. Now, for those of us here, it's also the same thing. Kindly just discuss within yourselves and then generate an idea or that you think is winnable. Now, as we proceed, we now try the first thing, see how we proceed. Now, but we need to usually try to appoint leader who will voluntarily serve. Just any leader. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Those of you back, Dr. Elena, you should be part of your team. Who voluntarily serve? Okay, Prof. Okay, Prof. Because the leader eventually will come to make some short talk. Yeah? Leader. Okay. Anna. Thank you, sir. And leader here? Okay, Prof? Okay. So we now take 10 minutes and I try to have a robust discussion on what you think is this.
One, we are going to conduct a survey and collect all the information. And this survey will start from northern Nigeria. So after that, we will go across Nigeria at large. The survey will be conducted by a questionnaire. So we will start collecting information about name, age, class, and after that, we will try to generate an AI database on AI, which will be conducted online. And this was so that for JAM, WIRE, NECO, they will just go through the database and get the necessary information. Thank you.
Yes, one very important. I think I've forgotten to give us a highlight of when you come, just topic, and then you take the specific problem that you are solving, and then the objectives. I think that will just have the idea. Yes, what is your title? That is the first question. Now, the presentation, please, is open for interrogations and comments. What is your title?
AI database for secondary school or school children in northern Nigeria.
Okay, AI database for preschool.
For primary, secondary school students in northern Nigeria.
AI database for primary and secondary school children in northern Nigeria. Do you have questions? Lots of comments about this? Yeah.
I want to commend you for the novelty of your title, but I have two observations. One, what then is different between what you are trying to develop and the existing NIN area? And secondly, what problem are you trying to address as far as this particular topic is concerned? Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can see he is like your reviewer now. And that is how your reviewer will think, and that's how. So if you don't communicate whatever it is, then there will be no required to ask you a question, remember.
So the difference between NIN database, NIN database is for everybody, a national identification number. So it's a database for everybody in Nigeria as far as you have clocked 18 years. So, but this is specific. It's only specific to primary and secondary school students. So that is one. And the second question is that what is the problem we're trying to address? Right now, I can ask everyone in this hall, how many private schools do you have in Zaria, just Zaria? Can you name them every single private school? Okay, let's even start with government schools. Can you name them? Because they have these replicating names, GSS. The only thing that is differentiating is Dakachi, Magajia. So, how can you differentiate them? Then, how many students you have within the school, and then how many people are enrolled within the school? Then, when exams or government policies start, when you have this database, you just set the information and you can do your policies immediately without conducting, giving money for more surveys every time.
Thank you very much. I think because of time, I think we have to round up. I will tell you general thoughts, my general thoughts, and I'm sure some of us will also share. Like I said, everybody is free to also share his thoughts. My personal thought about this has to do a lot of data collection, and data collection is still quite elaborate. Just to collect data, you need to demonstrate an application of the data. What you do, what you use the data to solve, precisely. So data collection is good, archiving is good, excellent, in fact, for policy and so many things. But in NRF, like I said, the main thing is what the person giving you money. For them, they will want to see what problem are you solving specifically. Now, if you can demonstrate that this data is essentially used for something to solve a particular problem, that will have been fantastic. But stopping at data collection and creating a database, I think, is less likely to apply at NRF. You understand? So perhaps before you make a turn, you can think of what application will you make. What you generate the data, you connect, you have database, what problems specifically you will solve so that we have a clear-cut output. Thank you. Now the next thing, humanities.
Thank you. Category 1, humanities and social sciences. We choose area 2, that is conflict, defense, and security. And our theme is the challenges of youth restiveness in Nigeria, the study of Northwest political zone. Our objective is to examine the causes of youth restiveness, 2, to assess the impact of restiveness, and 3, to analyze the role of state and non-state actors. Title: The challenges of youth restiveness in Nigeria, the study of Northwest geopolitical zone.
Sir, please like I said, this also is also another layer of planning. We listen to others. It's very important.
Well done, thank you very much. Challenges of good restiveness. Like I say, you can see, I don't know what is the outcome from this study. You can see, you are just telling me challenges. I mean, I'm not interested in challenges. I'm interested in what you are going to address, what is the outcome. I see that title, for me, I'll like to look on the time, address so clearly the outcome of it.
Thank you, sir. I think this is quite. If there is any further answers, no? Any other comment? Okay.
Thank you. We actually initially put addressing challenges, but we are advised that it may not hit specific problem on it. But that's actually where we are going to do the research. We're going to address the issue. The youth restiveness
Yes, it's correct. I think they wrote addressing challenges of youth. Then I now requested that my suggestion was that what you are addressing is quite big. You should hit on specifically what are you addressing or how are you addressing. That is, as soon as we hit that, then this is a topic that can easily fly.
My own advice for the group is that perhaps it's even better if you create a framework or something that would influence policy. Then we can hold on to something. But now it still is a survey, exploratory data gathering only. The application is not apparent. That's bridging that gap, making that jump from what you are now, that jump to something we can hold on to, the application, a policy, a framework, a model, something.
At least as presently constituted, the team of HSS, they are historians, they are sociologists. The leader is actually a son. He's a lawyer. So if you are dealing with sociologists, historians, people in English, imagine their mindset. They will be expecting a product, an end product. For example, a group in one university, historians, they were looking at the crisis of lack of enough indigenous teaching material for history from secondary schools. So they crafted their idea around the fact that at the end there will be a product. There will be books written on the history of Nigeria by Nigerians, and they will distribute to secondary schools to enhance learning, teaching of secondary school, of history, secondary school. Understanding the way people are thinking. Now, for HSS, most times, the research is more like survey or documentary. You don't have the challenges of SETI and cross-cutting in terms of equipment purchase. It's travels, administration of questionnaires, discussion with focus groups, and all that. The equipment will just be maybe secretarial equipment, computers, cameras, dictaphones to make recordings. So usually the budget is high on travels. We have to go to different places. And you know, in our society, we want to go and interview people within the community, local traditional heads, sometimes the area boys will block, and all that. Those can be impediments. We take all that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, like, all agree, the idea is very good, but it is that bridge. Prof call it a bridge. Just a bridge to now something to hold on to, something to show that application. Like what Prof. Please kindly write your names and the topic.
A round of applause for everybody, please. And distinguished professors, senior colleagues, I believe the sessions have been educational trips. And I believe we have learned so many things today, and there are a lot of take-home messages from all the sessions we listened to. And we also look forward to individual proposals at the Directorate. Now, I have the honor to invite, for the vote of thanks, the Provost, Postgraduate College, EBU Zaria, Professor MN Shuaibu. Please can we put our hands together for him while he comes to the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether to give a vote of thanks or a closing remark, but from the programmer. So
closing remarks and both of them. So let me just take both the two. First, I think it was a very productive day. I think I can see the enthusiasm for a couple of hours that we have been here. Three very important messages today. First, the encouragement from the Vice Chancellor that was here with us, who has been closely associated with TETFAN and NRF for over a decade. Took his time to give his encouragement and shared with us his experience. And then the second, I would want to really thank the 5 speakers who have gone through the different aspects of NRF grant writing. The third, of course, is the feedback from participants. And I think putting these 3 together, to me, I give us A+. It is not actually, it is just the enthusiasm and the discussion that ensued. That's very important. And then I think Professor Tony, his presentation, said that we should not quote him, and I'm not going to quote him. First, we have gotten the tricks now. And that's the advantage of having an insider with you. But I have a message. I've actually gone to see there are some people actually watching this live on the stream. Yes, actually, there are a number of people there. So don't be discouraged with the number you have there. The number of people have actually been watching us in other places. So first, we have agreed, and we are going to be messengers to those that have not been here. Last year, we had quite a number. This year, I want to ask us to go back and at least one proposal from each of the 108 departments. Now I will tell you, if we have, of course, we're not taking that only one concept, no, many from each department, but with the aim of at least each department must get one NRF concept not going through. And by law of statistics, we're going to have about 1/3 of it going to the next stage. And then, of course, by the law of statistics, it means that actually we'll always be naturally ahead. Surely, if we have that level of commitment, we'll make it. Let me just give you an example with my department. Awal is my department, Balogun is my department, and then a number of people. In my department, there is no person from the graduate assistant to the senior academy that has not been involved at least 3 times in writing concept notes. And I think this is something that each department should actually invite. And surely, we have quite a number. He has been there a number of times, and we keep on doing it. We keep on doing it. Surely, we have the resources. We have what it takes actually take 30% of all the NRF that is going to be given in this country. I assure you, if we sit down and do our work, we'll get it. So this is my message to you, and on behalf of the director that have really taken the time for this very productive day, I want to thank the Vice Chancellor and Absentia who was here with us and who has given all the encouragement and the resources for this training to be held. And then, of course, the director itself for all the logistics. And of course, the presenters who have been here with us, they are still here as only one that has to go for another meeting. And surely, I will have to finally give a very warm thank you to the participants who sat here enthusiastically and honestly actually listening and trying to imbibe this. And we hope the product of this discussion is going to be witnessed by the time TETFAN announce the number of NRF that is going to be given this year. Thank you very much. I wish you a very successful day.
Thank you very much, Provost. Please can we once again put our hands together for the Provost? Thank you. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this event. And it is very important that we pray before we go. Can we take 30 seconds to pray according to individual faith, please? Amen. I wish us all safe journey back to our various